The cold winds of the frozen moon moved like silent ghosts across the empty plains. The icy ground stretched endlessly in every direction, shining under a pale blue sky that never warmed. It was the kind of place where even machines struggled to operate for long, and where living creatures stood no chance without help. Yet on this distant world, far from any warm sun, an alien team had arrived for one of their many research missions. Their ship hovered over the icy surface before landing with a soft thud, releasing a long breath of steam that vanished instantly into the freezing air. Among the group was a creature they had engineered long ago, a feline-shaped beast built for strength, speed, and obedience. Its dark fur absorbed whatever heat the environment offered, and its eyes glowed softly like twin embers. It had been designed to track life signs, detect dangers, and protect the aliens during harsh expeditions. To them, it was not a pet or a companion. It was simply a tool. A living device made to follow orders, nothing more. The beast walked beside the group as they moved across the snow. Its paws sank slightly into the icy crust, leaving behind deep impressions that froze over almost instantly. The winds pressed against its body, but it continued without slowing. It was loyal by instinct, not by choice. Every movement it made followed a deep programming the aliens had built into its mind. The aliens themselves showed no reaction to the cold. Their suits protected them from everything the moon could throw at them. They inspected the area with small devices, scanning the ground, checking signals, marking points for future collection. To them, this moon was simply another stop in a long list of planets they studied. Nothing about it felt special or important, just another task to complete. As they moved farther from the ship, the terrain grew worse. Sharp ice ridges rose from the ground like frozen blades, making each step more difficult. The beast stepped ahead of the aliens, sniffing the air, testing the ground, searching for safe paths. It had learned to expect danger in places like this. The cold bit at its limbs, and frost clung to its whiskers. Yet it stayed alert and ready to defend its group. Hours passed as they continued their survey, but something changed. The beast slowed. At first, it was barely noticeable, just a softer pace, a slight hesitation. Then its breaths became deeper and heavier. Its strong legs began to shake each time they touched the ground. A thin line of ice formed along its fur where moisture had frozen. The aliens finally noticed. One of them tapped a small device on its wrist, watching the creature's health signal drop. They exchanged brief looks. Their steps did not slow. Their mission mattered more to them than the survival of a single engineered beast. The beast tried to keep up, pushing its body harder than it ever had before. It knew nothing about fairness or reason. It only knew the instinct to follow and protect. Even as its vision blurred from cold and exhaustion, it forced itself forward. Snow clung to its fur, weighing it down. Its paws burned each time they hit the ground. The wind roared louder, and the sky darkened as the temperature fell even more. Finally, the creature stumbled. Its front legs buckled under its weight, and it collapsed on its side. The aliens turned. One of them scanned it again. The signal was low, indicating that the beast would not last long in this environment. The alien let out a short breath that looked like a sigh, not of sadness, but of annoyance. They gathered around the fallen creature. The beast looked up weakly, its breaths shaky and uneven. It tried to lift its head, but could not. Its eyes glowed faintly, showing both fear and confusion. It had always been strong. It had always done its job. It did not understand why its body was failing now, or why the group it had served stood so still. The alien spoke in calm tones, discussing their options. It was clear that carrying the beast back to the ship would slow them down. It would require time, resources, and energy. Time they did not want to waste. The decision was quick and emotionless. One turned away signaling the end of the discussion. The beast watched them step back. It tried again to rise, desperate to follow, but its legs refused to move. A soft sound escaped its throat. Not quite a growl, not quite a plea. Just a sound of pure instinct, begging not to be left behind. Snow continued to fall, covering its body slowly, bit by bit. The aliens looked at it one last time, but the creature saw nothing in their faces. No regret, no concern. Just emptiness. They turned toward their path again and continued their mission, leaving the beast in the snow. Their footprints slowly filled with frost until no sign of their presence remained. The beast lay alone on the frozen ground. The cold crawled across its body like invisible chains, tightening with every passing moment. It could feel its heartbeat slow. Its breath came out in short, thin clouds that lingered for just a moment before vanishing. It felt the world dim around it, sounds fading into silence, the sky blurring into a flat sheet of gray dot. It tried one last time to lift itself up, but even the smallest movement felt impossible. Its body trembled and then fell still. The cold pressed deeper, sinking into its bones. For the first time in its life, the creature felt something new. Not fear, not pain. Something like loneliness. Hours passed, though the beast could not tell how many. The storm grew stronger. Snow piled over its back. It became a small mound in a world of endless white. The wind howled across the plains, cutting through the silence like a sharp blade. The beast's eyes fluttered open and closed, each moment slower than the last dot in its fading vision. It saw one last memory. Running beside the aliens on another world. Strong, confident, useful. It remembered jumping across cliffs, tracking signals, saving the group from danger more times than it could count. It remembered the satisfaction of fulfilling its purpose, but it could not understand why it was left behind. It had never questioned its orders before. It had never thought about what it wanted or what it deserved. Now, lying in the freezing dark, it felt something different inside, something small but strong. A tiny spark of life that refused to go out completely. Perhaps it was instinct. Perhaps it was something more. But deep within its chest, a soft pulse continued. Weak but steady. The beast was not ready to surrender to the cold. Not yet. Not until it had no strength left out far above. The alien ship grew smaller as it moved toward the horizon. Its engines glowed brightly, leaving a faint trail of light before disappearing into the sky. The silence returned. Only the beast remained, buried under snow, clinging to the last thread of warmth inside its heart. It did not know that something unexpected would soon appear on this frozen world. It did not know that another form of life, one it had never encountered before, was watching from afar. But for now, it lay motionless, waiting for a miracle it did not know it needed. And somewhere on that quiet moon, a signal reached a human outpost far across the icy plains. A signal that would change everything for the creature that everyone else had abandoned. The storm on the frozen moon did not slow down. The wind kept dragging long trails of snow across the plains, as if trying to erase everything that had happened. Under one of those drifting layers of white, the abandoned beast lay almost completely still. Only the faint rise and fall of its chest showed it was still alive, fighting quietly against the cold that refused to let go. Far away from that lonely spot stood a small human outpost. The structure looked tiny on such a wide and empty world, like a single bright dot in a sea of ice. It had been built for research, communication checks, and rescue operations whenever something unexpected happened in this part of space. Life inside the outpost was calm most days. The humans who worked there spent their time studying the environment, watching the skies, and repairing machines that struggled in the freezing air. On this particular day, the outpost was quiet until one of the devices began to beep. The screen flickered, showing a strange signal coming from the northern plains. At first, the humans thought it was just another glitch. The weather often confused their sensors, and the ice storms made it hard to tell what was real. But this signal looked different. It had a strange pulse, slow and weak, yet steady enough to catch attention. One of the humans leaned closer to the screen and adjusted the settings. The signal became clearer. It showed a warm spot in a place where no human structures or machines were supposed to be. Warm spots usually meant life. But nothing natural lived on this frozen moon. Not a plant, not an insect, not even a tiny creature that could survive the cold. The humans exchanged looks. Something was out there. Something alive. They prepared a rescue team right away. 2 humans suited up and checked their equipment. They knew the dangers of traveling across the icy terrain. The storms could shift direction without warning. Visibility could drop in seconds, and the cold could damage even their strongest machines. Still, they did not hesitate. Life, any life, deserved a chance. They climbed onto a snow vehicle and set off across the plains. The engine hummed as the machine pushed through heavy layers of ice. The wind slapped against their helmets, and fine snowflakes danced around them like tiny sparks. As they traveled farther from the outpost, the sky grew darker with moving clouds. The humans followed the signal on their screen, guided by the blinking mark that led them toward the unknown. After nearly an hour of moving through harsh weather, they reached the place where the signal was coming from. At first, they saw nothing but endless white. The snow looked smooth and untouched. They stepped out of the vehicle and scanned the ground. The device still showed a warm reading. Something was right beneath their feet. One of the humans knelt and brushed away the snow. Under the first layer, they saw a patch of dark fur. They quickly pushed more snow aside until the shape of the beast appeared. Its body was stiff with frost, and its eyes were shut tight. For a moment, the humans thought they had come too late. But then they noticed a small breath escape from its mouth, thin like a fading whisper. The creature was alive. The humans acted fast. They checked for injuries, using gentle hands even though they were dealing with a large and powerful beast. They could see ice stuck deep in its fur, and its paws were frozen from the long exposure to the cold. Whoever had left it here had done so fully expecting it to die. The humans exchanged quiet looks, filled with a mix of disbelief and sadness. They did not know which species had abandoned it, but they understood right away that this creature had suffered. They lifted the beast carefully onto a stretcher. It was heavy, heavier than it looked, but they worked together without hesitation. The storm around them grew louder, as if rushing to stop them, but the humans held on. They placed the creature in the back of the vehicle, wrapped it in thermal blankets, and turned on the heating modules. The machine hummed as warm air began filling the space. The journey back to the outpost was slow. The wind pushed against the vehicle, making it slide slightly across the ice. The humans kept checking the creature, making sure it was still breathing. The warmth had started to melt the frost on its fur. A tiny drop of water rolled down its forehead and landed on the blanket. Inside the outpost, the humans prepared a space for the creature. They laid it gently on a heated mat and surrounded it with more blankets. Machines began scanning its heart rate, temperature, and internal condition. The readings were low, dangerously low, but not hopeless. The humans spoke in soft voices, as if afraid to disturb the creature's struggle for survival. Hours passed while they worked. They warmed its paws, rubbed its limbs to restore circulation, and gave it small doses of warm fluids through a device that did not require it to wake up. Slowly, very slowly, the beast's breathing grew steadier. Its chest lifted a little higher with each breath. The glow in its eyes, once dim, flickered faintly beneath its eyelids. The humans watched with quiet relief. They did not know what kind of creature it was, but they could see strength beneath the exhaustion. The fur on its body was thick and patterned in ways they had never seen before. Its claws, though sharp, rested gently against the mat. Even in such a weak state, there was something noble about it, something that made the humans feel protective. One of the humans sat near it through the night. They kept adjusting the heat levels, checking the readings, and making sure the creature was not slipping away again. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, the outpost felt warm and still, as if holding its breath. Near midnight, the creature moved for the first time. It was a tiny twitch of the ear, followed by a faint sound from its throat. The human sitting beside it leaned forward. The beast's eyes opened slightly. At first, the creature saw only blurry shapes and soft light. Its instincts kicked in, telling it to be wary, to prepare to defend itself if needed. But its body was too weak to respond with strength. The human raised a hand slowly, not to touch the creature, but to show there was no threat. The beast blinked, its eyes trying to focus. It smelled warmth, sensed kindness, and felt something it had not felt in a long time, maybe ever: safety. Its eyes closed again, not from fear this time, but from relief. When morning came, the storm had calmed. The beast slept quietly, no longer shivering. The humans took turns watching over it, documenting its progress and making sure nothing went wrong. They talked softly among themselves about what kind of life the creature had before this. It must have belonged to someone. It must have served someone. But whoever that was had walked away from it without hesitation. The humans, however, felt no urge to treat it as property or equipment. They were not guided by cold logic. They were guided by something simple and deeply human: compassion. A life had been abandoned, and they had saved it because they believed every life deserved respect. As the hours passed, the creature regained a bit more strength. Its breathing became smooth, and the color returned to its skin beneath the fur. Sometimes it opened its eyes slightly, just to look around at the quiet room. It saw walls covered in screens, machines humming softly, and humans moving with gentle steps. It did not understand their words, but it recognized their intentions. For the first time since being left in the snow, the beast felt warmth not just around its body, but somewhere deeper inside. It sensed that the beings caring for it were different from the ones who had abandoned it. They moved with patience, spoke with kindness, and watched it with something that looked like worry. The creature did not have a name, did not understand language, and did not know the meaning of loyalty beyond programmed instinct. But as it rested among humans who had risked their safety to save it, something new began to form in its mind. Something it had never been designed for. A connection. And far from the outpost, across the frozen plains, the tracks of the aliens who abandoned it had already disappeared. They believed the creature was gone forever. They had no idea that humans had found it. They had no idea that the story was just beginning. The creature slept for many hours inside the human outpost. Its body had fought so hard against the freezing cold that now it finally allowed itself to rest. The humans did not disturb it unless necessary. They checked the monitors, adjusted the blankets, and whispered quietly so the creature would not feel threatened or confused. The morning passed slowly. Soft yellow light from the artificial lamps filled the room. The outpost always felt a little lonely, but today it felt different. There was a quiet excitement in the air, a kind of hope the humans had not expected to feel. It was rare to find life on such a cold moon. Rarer still to save something that had been so close to dying. In the afternoon, the creature finally opened its eyes fully. Its vision was still blurry at first, and everything looked like shapes moving through fog. It lifted its head only a little before dropping it again. Even that small movement took effort. The humans noticed it waking and stepped closer with calm, steady motions. They did not want to frighten it. They wanted the creature to know it was safe. The beast observed them with slow, careful breaths. It did not understand why these beings were helping it. The last ones that had followed had walked away without hesitation when it could no longer keep up. Its instinct told it to be alert. But another feeling, something new and unfamiliar, told it not to panic. A human placed a bowl near it. The bowl held warm water mixed with nutrients, something easy to swallow and good for recovery. The creature sniffed it cautiously. The steam rising from the bowl felt pleasant against its cold nose. Hunger pushed through its hesitation. Slowly, it began to drink. The humans watched with quiet satisfaction. Seeing the creature take its first real drink since the morning of the storm made them feel relief that words could not express. They had been hoping it would wake, hoping it would trust them even a little. After drinking, the creature rested its head again. Its eyes softened. The warmth of the room sank into its bones, melting away the last edges of the cold. It no longer felt like it was trapped in a world of freezing silence. For the first time since it had been abandoned, it felt the presence of others who cared whether it lived or died. Over the next few hours, the humans began to examine the creature more closely. They worked carefully, making sure not to cause any pain or fear. They scanned its limbs, checked its breathing, and studied the patterns in its fur. They were surprised by the structure of its muscles and the softness of its coat. Everything about the creature suggested it was built for strength and endurance. Yet something else was clear too. It had not been treated with kindness in its past life. The creature watched them with half-open eyes. It sensed their curiosity. It did not understand why they were interested, but it felt no threat from them. Their hands were gentle. Their voices were low and steady. When they touched its fur, there was no force behind their actions, only care. The next day, the creature tried to stand. Its legs shook under its weight, and it almost collapsed again, but one of the humans moved quickly and placed a strong arm under its side. The creature froze at the touch. It looked up at the human with wide, uncertain eyes. The human simply nodded softly, as if saying it was fine, there was no danger. With slow, shaky steps, the creature managed to stand for a moment. It breathed faster from the effort, but standing felt like a small victory. The humans gave it space and watched closely in case it needed support again. When it finally sat down, they praised it quietly, not with loud voices, but with gentle tones that made the creature relax. Days passed, and the bond between the creature and the humans grew little by little. Every morning, the humans brought food made warm so the creature would not struggle to eat. They cleaned its fur when ice melted into wet patches. They wrapped its paws in soft cloth until the frost damage healed. The creature began to follow them with its eyes whenever they moved. It noticed their routines. It recognized their footsteps. Sometimes, when one of the humans sat beside it, the creature shifted its body slightly closer. It did not know why it did that. It just felt right. The presence of these beings brought a sense of calm it had never felt before. The humans also learned things from the creature. They noticed it had a habit of tapping the ground with its tail when it felt curious. They discovered that it made a low, gentle sound whenever it felt comforted. They realized it enjoyed warm light, always moving closer to the heat lamps whenever they were turned on. These small details made the humans feel even more connected to the creature. One evening, one of the humans brought a small device that projected a soft moving light on the wall. It was meant to test the creature's eye response. But the moment the light drifted across the wall, the creature lifted its head with surprising interest. It followed the movement with its eyes. When the light circled around, the creature moved its paw slightly to follow the motion. For a moment, the humans almost laughed. The creature looked almost playful. That simple moment reminded them this beast was not just a machine, not just something created to follow orders. It had feelings. It had curiosity. It had a mind that wanted more than cold commands. It wanted connection. As the creature grew stronger, it began exploring the outpost. At first, it walked only a few steps before resting again. But each day, its strength returned more. It walked along the walls, sniffing everything, learning the smells of metal, cloth, and warm heaters. It watched the humans work, tilting its head whenever it heard a strange sound or saw a blinking light. One day, the creature sat beside the main door and looked outside through the clear panel. The snowy plains stretched far into the horizon. The wind moved the snow like waves. The creature stared quietly at the white world beyond the door. There was something familiar about the sight, but now it felt different. The cold world outside no longer felt like a prison. Not as long as the humans were near. The humans noticed the creature's interest and approached slowly. They did not open the door. The creature was not ready to face the cold again, but they stood beside it, looking out at the landscape together. The creature glanced at them, and for a brief moment it felt grateful. It had never known what gratitude was before, but now it understood in its own way. These beings had saved it. These beings cared. Later that week, the humans found something unexpected. When they scanned the creature again, their devices picked up strange internal signals. Not natural ones, not biological ones. Signals that looked like programming, as if something inside the creature had been built, not born. The humans looked at each other with quiet concern. This creature had not been raised in the wild. It had been designed. They studied the readings more, comparing patterns and signals. The deeper they looked, the more they realized that this creature had likely never known freedom. It had never made choices of its own. It had been built for a purpose, and then left behind once that purpose no longer mattered. The humans felt a heavy weight in their hearts. They wondered what kind of beings would abandon something they created. What kind of minds believed a living creature was disposable? And the more they thought about it, the more protective they felt of the beast. The creature, unaware of these discoveries, lay near the heater with its eyes half closed. The soft warmth lulled it into a peaceful rest. It trusted the humans now. Not fully, but enough that it no longer watched them with fear. Enough that it allowed itself to sleep beside them without worrying they would disappear. One night, as the humans worked in the next room, they heard a sound from the creature. It was a quiet hum, almost like a purr, soft and steady. The humans paused. They looked at each other and smiled. The creature was comfortable. It was relaxed. It was healing not only in body, but in spirit. The outpost felt alive in a new way. The creature had brought warmth to a place filled with cold machines. Its presence reminded the humans why they chose this work. They believed in saving lives. They believed in giving every creature a chance. But far across the frozen plains, something else was happening. A signal had been detected. A ship had changed direction. And soon, the beings who created and abandoned the creature would return, unaware that the beast they left to die was no longer alone. The days passed quietly inside the outpost, but something in the air started to feel different. The humans couldn't explain it at first. It was a strange pressure, almost like the sky itself was waiting for something to happen. The creature, now stronger and moving with more confidence, sensed it too. Sometimes it would stop walking, lift its head, and stare at the ceiling as if it heard a sound too far away for human ears. The humans noticed this change in its behavior. They wondered if it sensed another storm coming. But the weather reports looked normal. The sky outside was calm. The wind was soft, not fierce like before. There was no sign of trouble from the environment. Yet the creature looked uneasy in a way they had not seen since the day it woke up. The humans tried to comfort it. They placed its favorite warm mat near the heater. They spoke in calm voices. They moved slowly so the creature would not think something was wrong. But nothing eased its tension. It stayed close to the walls, watching the windows, listening carefully. Something deep inside the creature remembered a sound, a pattern, a rhythm that humans could not hear. Inside the control room, one of the machines suddenly picked up a strange signal. At first, the humans thought it was nothing, just interference from space. But the signal grew stronger. It pulsed in a steady pattern, almost like a heartbeat. It wasn't natural. It wasn't from the planet. It was coming from above. The humans studied the readings. The pulse was familiar in a way that made their stomachs tighten. They had seen something like it before in old reports about alien transmissions. The creatures who traveled across the galaxy used signals like this to announce their arrival. But this one was different. It was colder, sharper, almost like a call made without emotion. The creature heard it first. Its ears lifted sharply. Its eyes widened. It stood in the center of the room and stared toward the sky as if seeing straight through the ceiling. A low, uneasy sound escaped its throat. The humans stepped toward it, concerned. Before anyone could react, the sensors flashed red. A message appeared on the screen. A ship was entering the atmosphere of the frozen moon. Not a human ship. Something larger. Something older. The humans looked at each other with worry. Why would another species visit such a remote place without warning? They checked for any distress signals. There were none. They checked the communication channels. Silent. Whatever the visitors wanted, they weren't asking politely. The ship slowed above the snowy plains. The humans could see it from the window once it came lower. It was dark, metallic, and shaped in a way that looked unfriendly even from a distance. Its movements were too precise, too cold, too calculated. It hovered for a moment before landing on the plains, sending a cloud of frozen dust into the air. The creature backed away from the window the instant it saw the outline of the ship. Its body lowered in a defensive stance. Its tail stiffened. The humans immediately understood. Whoever was inside that ship was connected to the creature's past. And not in a good way. The humans gathered near the main door. They tried to communicate with the ship through translation channels, sending messages of greeting and inquiry. No response returned. The silence felt heavier than anything they had experienced in their time on the frozen moon. After a few minutes, the door of the alien ship opened. Figures stepped out. Their shapes were tall and thin, their movements sharp, their skin covered in patterns that glowed faintly under the cold light. They didn't look around with curiosity or caution. They moved with the confidence of beings who believed everything around them belonged to them. The humans felt a wave of unease. Their instincts warned them to stay careful. Even without words, the visitors carried an air of superiority, as if they expected no resistance from anyone. The creatures walked toward the outpost, their steps steady and unhurried. As they approached, the humans noticed something else. The patterns glowing on their skin matched the faint signals detected inside the rescued creature. The connection was undeniable. These were the ones who made it, and these were the ones who abandoned it. Inside the outpost, the creature hid behind a storage unit, shaking slightly. It remembered the sound of those footsteps. It remembered the cold voices that gave commands without kindness. It remembered being left behind, not because it failed, but because it was no longer needed. The memory was not clear like human memories, but it was strong enough to make its heart race. The humans stepped outside to meet the aliens. They kept their hands visible to show they meant no harm. They knew they had to stay calm. They asked the visitors why they had arrived and what they were searching for. One of the aliens stepped forward. Its voice came through a small device that translated speech into a language humans could understand. The words were sharp, direct, and empty of emotion. They said they were here to recover something. Not someone. Something. The humans already knew what they meant. They didn't react right away. They kept their faces neutral. But inside, they felt a quiet anger rising. They asked what exactly the aliens had lost. The alien described the creature without hesitation. It called it an asset, a tool, a creation. It explained the creature had been built for missions and survival tasks. It said the creature was designed to follow orders, not form attachments. According to them, it had no rights, no emotions, no value beyond its function. The humans listened, stunned at how easily the aliens dismissed the creature's life. They had seen it injured, afraid, weak, and trying to survive. They had watched it heal, grow, and trust. They had seen curiosity in its eyes, comfort in its posture, and warmth in its behavior. To the humans, the creature was alive in every way that mattered. They told the aliens the creature was in their care now. They explained it had been abandoned, left to die, and that they rescued it. They added that the creature had shown clear signs of emotion and intelligence. The aliens did not look pleased. Their glowing patterns flickered in a strange rhythm, almost like annoyance. The aliens insisted the creature belonged to them. They claimed it was property, not a living being. They demanded the humans return it immediately. But the humans stood firm. They refused. Their voices stayed calm, but their determination was clear. They would not hand over a creature that had been left to freeze. They would not allow it to go back to the ones who treated it as disposable dot inside the outpost. The creature heard the voices. It edged closer to the window, trembling. When it saw the aliens standing outside, something inside it broke open. Fear rushed through it so fast that it almost collapsed. Memories hit it like sudden waves. Being commanded, being pushed, being ignored, being left behind like broken equipment. And now those same beings had returned to take it away again. But this time, something was different. The humans were standing between the creature and its past. They stood in a straight line, blocking the doorway. They were not harmed. They were not threatening. They were simply protecting. The aliens stared at the humans for a long moment. Their glowing skin brightened a little, as if they were calculating the situation. The humans were calm, but sure. They had made their decision. And the aliens did not expect resistance from such a small outpost. A quiet tension filled the air. The wind moved slowly. The plains around them fell completely silent. Even the machines inside the outpost seemed to stop making sound. After what felt like a very long time, the aliens turned around. They walked back to their ship without a single word. The humans remained still, watching closely, ready to react if anything changed. The aliens stepped inside their ship. The door closed. The engines hummed softly. Then the ship lifted from the ground, rising into the sky with the same cold precision it had arrived with. The humans waited until the ship was gone from sight before they relaxed. Their breaths finally loosened. Their shoulders dropped. The danger was over. At least for now. When they returned inside the outpost, the creature rushed toward them with heavy steps. It pressed itself gently against one of the humans, as if trying to hide. The humans placed their hands carefully on its back. The creature wasn't just afraid. It was relieved. For the first time, someone had stood up for it. Someone had refused to let it be taken dot, and in that moment, something inside the creature changed forever. It no longer saw the humans as just helpers. It saw them as protectors, as family. But deep inside the humans' hearts, they knew one thing. The story wasn't over. The aliens had left, but not because they had given up. They had retreated for another reason. They would return one day, and when they did, the humans would be ready. When the humans first received the signal that an alien ship was approaching the moon again, no one panicked, but everyone understood that something important was about to happen. The beast, who had grown stronger, calmer, and far more trusting over the past weeks, sensed the tension before anyone even said a word. It was resting near the main door of the shelter, its fur thick and shining now, its eyes alert and observant. It lifted its head, ears tilting slightly, as if it could hear something that humans could not. The team outside checked their scanners, exchanged short glances, and quietly prepared themselves. They were not getting ready for battle. There was no need for that. They were only getting ready for whatever conversation or confrontation might follow. Still, they understood that the aliens had not returned for friendly greetings. They had returned for one reason, and one reason only. They wanted the creature back. Inside the shelter, the beast paced slowly, moving from one wall to the other, its long tail sweeping the air behind it. It did not look frightened. It looked aware. It looked ready. Weeks of care had changed it. Every kindness it received, every soft tone spoken near it, every warm blanket placed over it, had shaped it into something new. Something that the aliens had never seen in it. Something they had probably never expected from a creature they once treated as a tool. When the alien ship finally landed near the outpost, the ground gave a gentle shake. Snow rose in light clouds around the landing zone. The humans stepped outside with calm, steady breaths. The beast followed behind them, choosing to stand near the people rather than stay inside. Its presence sent a clear message long before words were exchanged. The alien ramp opened slowly, and the same tall figures that had abandoned the beast walked out. Their movements were stiff, their eyes locked straight on the creature. They did not greet the humans or show any appreciation. They only stared at the beast as if they were looking at something they owned, something that had slipped out of their control, something they had come to reclaim. One of the humans stepped forward and greeted them politely, offering a peaceful tone. But the aliens did not react to kindness. They demanded the creature immediately. Their voices sounded sharp, not out of anger, but out of entitlement. To them, the beast was not alive in the way humans understood. It was not a companion, not a thinking being, not someone capable of choosing who to trust. To them, it was simply a device they had created and discarded, but the creature responded in a way none of the aliens expected. It moved closer to the humans, not out of fear, but out of choice. Its bright eyes remained steady. Its posture was confident. It positioned itself between the two groups without showing aggression. It stood like a guardian, silent but firm. It seemed to say everything without a single sound. This was where it belonged now. The aliens took a step forward, but they froze when the creature lowered itself slightly, ready to defend. The humans did not command it to stop. They did not hold it back. They simply stood beside it, sharing the weight of the moment. The humans explained the events clearly. They said the beast had been abandoned. They said it was found half frozen. They said they saved it, cared for it, and showed it kindness. They stated, calmly and firmly, that no living being deserved to be thrown away like that. Whether or not the aliens agreed did not matter anymore. What mattered was the creature's choice. One alien tried to argue that creatures like it did not make choices. But the humans simply stepped aside so the beast could stand freely without anyone blocking it. It made the choice instantly. It walked to the humans and stayed at their side. It did not even glance back at its old masters. That moment ended the argument completely. The aliens stared in silent disbelief. They could not understand how something they shaped in a lab could look at them with no recognition, no loyalty, and no desire to return. To them, it was impossible. To the humans, it made perfect sense. Kindness grows trust. Trust grows connection. That connection can never be forced. After a long silence, the aliens stepped back. For the first time, they looked unsure. They did not threaten. They did not try to take the creature by force. Something about the way it stood there made them realize that it was no longer theirs to command. It had survived something they never believed could survive. It had found a new home, a new life, a new meaning, The aliens exchanged quiet words among themselves. Then, without any farewell or acknowledgement, they turned around and walked back to their ship. The ramp closed. The engine started. And moments later, they lifted off, leaving only a swirl of snow behind. The humans waited until the ship disappeared into the sky. Only then did they turn to the creature. It stood still for a moment, watching the sky fade back to calm gray. Then it looked at the humans, its expression soft, almost peaceful. It nudged one of them gently with its head, a gesture it had learned on its own, a gesture it used only when it felt safe. They smiled and gently scratched its fur. There was no need for celebration, no need for loud cheers. The only thing that mattered was that the creature had chosen them. Not because it was ordered, not because it was afraid, but because it trusted. That night, the shelter was warmer than usual. The humans sat together, talking softly about everything that had happened. The creature lay near them, stretched out comfortably on the floor. From time to time, it opened its eyes, listening to their voices. Its breathing was slow and relaxed, the way it only breathed now. After finding a place where no one saw it as a burden or a tool, over the next weeks, the life inside the outpost changed. The creature explored the snowy hills freely, always returning before evening. It walked with confidence now, leaving deep paw marks in the soft snow. The humans sometimes followed it during their research trips, and it walked proudly beside them, scanning the environment as if protecting the group by choice. Visitors from other human stations soon heard about the creature. Some came to see it, always keeping a respectful distance. Many were amazed at its calm behavior. Some were touched when it approached gently, showing that it had learned the difference between kindness and carelessness. Human studies revealed even more about it. The creature was highly intelligent. It could form long-term bonds. It recognized emotions. It understood tones, gestures, and intentions. It was far more aware than the aliens had believed. The humans realized the aliens did not abandon it because it was weak. They abandoned it because they never saw its heart. The humans made sure that would never happen again. Months later, when new communication lines opened between human colonies and other species, the story of the beast traveled far. Across stations, across planets, and across quiet corners of the galaxy, people repeated the same simple message. Every living being deserves care. Every life deserves a chance. What others abandon, humans may protect. And somewhere on that cold moon, the creature continued to thrive. It was no longer a forgotten experiment. It was no longer a frightened survivor. It had become part of a family, part of a community, part of a place that valued it simply for being alive. Every evening, when the sun dipped low and painted the snow with soft colors, the creature would sit near the edge of the outpost, watching the horizon as humans worked around it. Sometimes it would look up at the sky, the same sky where the alien ship had disappeared. But it no longer looked with fear or confusion. It looked with calm understanding. It knew where it stood now. It knew where it belonged. What ensued after being abandoned was not just survival. It was transformation. It was purpose. It was a new life built from gentle hands, warm shelters, and patient hearts. A life that the aliens had never given it. A life that humans offered freely. And that made all the difference.